Welcome back. Now let's get started with our curtain raiser headliner entitled Stop Living in the Past. There's a new wave of AI adoption, barriers to overcome now. Here to share his thoughts from London, we're delighted to welcome Roey Mechrez, the CTO of BeyondMinds. Prior to joining BeyondMinds, Roey did his PhD at Technion in Israel, where he worked with Professor Lihi Zalnik-Maner. His work lies at the intersection of computer vision and deep learning. Specifically, his research interests are in realistic image generation, manipulation, and transformation, focusing on tools, algorithms, and new paradigms for photo editing and synthesis. Roey, over to you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today, and thank you for the organizer for a lovely event. I would be happy to give my talk today, and let me just share my screen. Okay, so my talk today is going to discuss some adoption barriers in AI, and it is titled Stop Living in the Past. There is a new wave of AI adoption barriers to overcome now. So let me start. I'm going to start my talk today with a failure to launch AI story. And the story is taking place in a Fortune 1000 manufacturing company that tried to build an AI solution for defect detection. For those of you who are not familiar with the concept, so defect detection in the quality assessment, the case is quite simple. Think about a production line where you have samples of images coming of different products, and you would like to sort for those who contain defects and those who do not. And this company started, as many other companies started in the past, by doing planning, moving to model POC, systematic production, and then building an evergreen system. So let me describe the process that they took place and what went wrong. So they started with planning, building an AI strategy, management alignment across the board. They hired a data science team. They did some project scoping, understand what AI can do for them, what is the right problem to solve. They allocate budget. They did a plan of the business process and how it's going to transform the company. Documentation, PRDs, goals and objectives were set, and they were ready for development. This took around 3 months, and they were ready for building a POC. So they started collecting data, cleaning the data, build a data stream, data flow with the data engineering, cleaning and exploring the data, organizing a train, validation, and test set, which, by the way, is reported as one of the most time-consuming process, and then designing, building, and training the ML model. After that, they did validation of the results, and they were super happy with 95% accuracy, and they were ready for deployment. So what could go wrong? Well, many things. So they ran into data acquisition problems because the amount of different cameras and environments were large. They required a real data pre-processing and cleansing of the data. Bias mitigation was a severe problem because the balance of the classes that they watched on the lab were completely different from what they witnessed in production. Then they needed to establish a human-machine trustful collaboration with the users that are actually using the system. There was a severe mismatch between the hardware and performance requirements, and speed became an issue, and the cloud computing cost was significant. And then they needed to solve some security issues, data governance, and monitoring of the solutions. So finally, it was productized, and they were ready for building an evergreen system, a system that can impact over time and not just when it's being built. So they started to collect errors and detect new data trends because the environment was changing over time, and that was affecting drastically their performance. A feedback loop and continuous learning was needed to implement in order to build a fruitful and efficient maintenance over time. They needed to build a machine learn from human and a human learn from machine environment in order to improve the system over time and keep it on the rails. Efficient maintenance and update process need to take place because they figure out that after the solution was developed and deployed, it requires a significant effort. And then scalable expanding, that's a hard one. So maybe after all of these challenges that they met in production and systematic evergreen system, they got impact and ROI. Now, this is not an anomaly. This story repeats itself again and again across companies, where more than 70% of businesses report they are being able to do the planning. It requires minimal effort, easy to achieve, and they can develop an AI strategy. Where 59% of businesses achieved a normal effort, which is achievable to succeed in POC. But then it becomes a problem. Only 13% of businesses achieve to become ready for production. That required heavy investment and business maturity, and the effort is very significant. Where last, only 11% of businesses report that they achieve profitable from AI. Effort over time, AI readiness, high gain, that's not easy. Well, that was reported 2 weeks ago, an MIT Sloan Management Review with BCG about expanding AI impact, where 71% of businesses reported that they understand how AI will change, they build a strategy, they are piloting, but only 11% report significant financial benefits. And that's not a new report. So a year ago at VentureBeat, 87% of data science projects never make it into production. There is a POC trap. So in 2020, out of 50 billion in investments, only 43 billion was spent on AI that never reached production. 43 billion. So what is holding AI back? In different reports over the last few years, we are witnessing many different explanations for these challenges that we're facing for AI adoption. I would say that these reports are not correct for most companies. I would say that 70% of companies are already overcoming the first wave of challenges. And this is more of a post-analysis of history that is not corrected to what we are seeing today at 2020. Ideas like enterprise maturity, fear of the unknown, finding a starting point, vendor strategy. What we are facing today is the second wave of challenges. So what we have in the second wave of challenges? The first challenge is handling extreme data scenarios. Data scenarios as appear in real life, where the data is noisy, complex, the amount of labeled data is minimal. You have spelling mistakes, blur images, and other effects in different verticals. The second one is the need for a complete solution management. AI is not about putting a model into production. It's about building systems that can manage, maintain, monitor, update, and understand what's going on under the hood. There is also a need to build a trustful human-machine collaboration. If you want to take AI into profit, into a mission-critical environment, you need to work with users. You need to work with humans in order to build a good collaboration over time. Unless a reduce of maintenance cost is critical. Many AI teams find the maintenance cost after being deployed of a solution tremendously large. In some cases, it even makes the use case non-profitable. So how can we overcome new barriers? I'm going to give you some strategies out of the whole story. So the most important rule that I want to give you today, and that's my from my own experience, but that's exactly what we're seeing across companies all over the world. Production of AI projects require much more than an ML model or a trained model. It's a holistic system. The trained model is only one part of a complete puzzle. you need the ability to customize, you need to solve solution in a robustness way, to scale, to build the stability solutions, to deal with data model and version control, to do monitoring and maintenance and trust. And it's a holistic solution that is required. Now let's go back to our story about the defect detection in the manufacturing environment. So that's a successful launch, a recovery story, okay? So we have the AI model that can be sorted to human inspection and no defects cases as a defect detection solution. So after POC, the solution was deployed into production. 80% of the case was fully automated with the 95% accuracy that I reported. 20% will pass to a human to second judgment. But then things started to be complex. Suddenly, lots of defects areas reach into the no defect bucket, and only 50% of cases were fully automated. The human lose trust in the system. There was a recall environment, and the company brand name was under stake. So what happened? Suddenly images came blurred or with noise, some material changes in the supply chain, and reflection because of change of lighting and illumination. That's the first challenge that I discovered, handling extreme data scenarios. So what they did is to build a data cleansing, pre-processing, out of distribution detection, a different mechanism over the input that can help detect and monitor these cases. Then they witnessed the second challenge, a trustful collaboration. So they had to add a confidence estimation that can build the uncertainty level of each case and build a better sorting to human inspection and the no defect cases. The third challenge is reduce the maintenance cost. And to do so, they build an efficient feedback mechanism that can retrain the model over time without forgetting history while adopting to new cases. An efficient validation technique that can do that automatically over time. And then things started to get fixed again. 80% was automated. The labor-intensive task of quality assessment was reduced, and the cost was reduced accordingly. The fourth challenge is a complete solution management, including governance and monitoring. They need to monitor over time the AI model. So I covered 4 different strategies, but that's only part of the whole story. The solution that I'm proposing to this second wave of challenges is invest in AI system with feedback, with improvement over time, with trust, with confidence, out of distribution detection, and others. What should you do is to build an AI systems. While it's complex and requires significant investment in fundamentals, it is the only way to gain profit from AI. What you should don't do, don't rush. If hiring an internal team that jump to solve problems, then overcoming these production barriers will be very difficult. To summarize my speak today, and it was lovely to meeting you and present for you, AI is transforming businesses all over the world, all over verticals. A new wave of challenges for AI adoption is occurring. Investment in AI system fundamentals can increase ROI dramatically. And I gave you some strategies to bridge the production gap, which is crucial. AI in production is a holistic system and not a single model. Thank you for listening. I was Roey Mechrez, BeyondMinds CTO, and you can contact me via email or meet us after this talk in the question and answering session. And thank you.
Fantastic. Roy, thank you so much. And as you just said to our audience, if you have questions for Roy, please do follow him through to the Networking Lounge and Speaker Q&A room. The link to that room is going to be dropped now into the session chat on Hopin. So please do follow him through, where Roy can turn his camera on and audio, and you'll be able to type in questions into the chat for him to read out and answer. Do also try some one-to-one networking via the networking tab, and be sure to add yourself to our WhatsApp group. Simply head over to the sessions area, scan the QR code, and enter the lounge and click the link to join. We're going to be taking a short break now, and we'll be back with you shortly.